Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I got another thought exercise for you guys. I want to tell you guys what I think Stephan Stern's defense is going to be. I think there's not many avenues for this guy to defend himself on what he did. Pleading guilty is just a formality. It basically says, "Hey, we want to go to court, to trial rather, and we want to put this before a jury." I think the goal in a case like this is not a not guilty verdict. It's not even a not guilty by reason of insanity. I think the goal of this type of defense is to save Stephan Stern's life, to somehow help him escape the death penalty. Understand that Stephan Stern is facing two trials. One is for the CSAM, which has overwhelming evidence that at the very least he possessed CSAM. 35,000 images and videos of CSAM material from people all over the world that he collected on the dark web. And then we have 1,700 images, but that was found on a thumb drive. Maybe Stephan Stern could have said, well, it wasn't mine, it was actually my dad's. Who gave that thumb drive in that actually proved those 35,000 images? Those 35,000 images came from Chris Stearns, believe it or not. Christopher Stearns, the father of Stephan Stearns, found that thumb drive and gave that thumb drive to the police department. They examined it and they found the 35,000 images of CSAM. Now, if it was just the 35,000 images of CSAM, you're going to say, well, that wasn't mine. I don't know who that belonged with. Now, through computer forensics, they might be able to prove that's the Stephan Stearns. They might be able to see what computer it came from, the time, the date, whatever, kind of corroborated if there's, other things he may have done on the thumb drive that show that it was his thumb drive, whatever. But he could have said, it's not mine. And he could have resulted in a whole lot more money and investigative time spent in saying, or proving rather, this belongs to Stephan Stearns. But there's another group of material that is irrefutable. And the irrefutable material, CSAM material that was found was the 1,700 images and videos that were found in his Google Drive. Now, all that stuff is password protected. So you can't say, well, somebody else had my password and was using my Google Drive to store these images. It's not going to fly. Those images, what is unique about them, what is so damning about those images, is unlike the 35,000 images that was found in the USB drive supplied by Chris Stearns, these 1,700 images were purely and solely of Stephan Stearns abusing Madeline Soto. So it's irrefutable because we know what Madeline Soto looks like. In the court, they'll get an ID procedure. They'll get Tyler Wallace, Tatiana, the grandmother, maybe even Jen Soto to come on the stand and identify Madeline Soto in the videos, in the pictures. So it's irrefutable that this is Madeline Soto. They also had search warrants on Stephan Stern's body where they documented every single piece of his body, especially his penis. So now they'll be able to show that this penis inside of this video belongs to Stephan Stearns. So you can't really say, I didn't do it. But what can you do? We're going to go over that right now, what I believe they're going to do to somehow mitigate what Stephan Stearns did. And how they're going to mitigate that, ladies and gentlemen, is I believe they're going to have a pseudo-insanity defense. And what do I mean by pseudo-insanity defense? They're not going to say that Stephan Stearns is out of his mind and was unable of making right from wrong decisions. I think that's a stretch too far. You'd have to get a diagnosis somehow saying that, he's schizophrenic or something like that. He just was not in touch with reality 3 to 4 days out of the week when he was abusing Manny. It's not what they're going to do. What they're going to say is, and I think part of this defense already came out. This defense was said in interviews by the Stearns. It was also said to me in private when I spoke to the Stearns on through email and via telephone. After Stephan Stearns sustained that brain injury, he was never the same. This is going to be corroborated by the very same interviews that we used that were done by GHR and JLR and these folks who are doing great work out there, where these friends of Stephan Stearns said things like, Stephan Stearns didn't take showers on a regular. Stephan Stearns was always greasy. Stephan Stearns collected his urine in a jar. Stephan Stearns was into collecting odd and sometimes illegal forms of porn. Stephan Stearns did things like looking at his friend's mother through the bathroom window while he's outside to see if he could catch her naked when he got caught by that friend's father and the friend's father almost shot him. These are stories that his friends have told to YouTubers and news outlets. And guess what those stories show? A picture of somebody who's not mentally well. Guess what else shows that picture? That's Stearns' LinkedIn. Now, it's not complete. We know he worked at Disney. He might even have had another job after this, but this is what I could find on the fly before I decided to come and do this show. So one of his first jobs, earliest jobs that he wants to show on LinkedIn is he was a permit coordinator for Smart Building Capital. He worked there from January 2017 to July 2018. 1 year, 7 months. He was a permit coordinator, warranty coordinator, and new construction sales. Decent job if you're committed. You can grow there. You can make commissions, I would assume. Do something special with your life. Before that, he worked for a real estate agent, Home Clicks Realty, from April 2014 to June 2017. Now, people will say, well, strategic, that shows that he can actually keep a job for a little while. Look how long he worked there. Well, we do know that a lot of these jobs were facilitated by his father. It's easy to keep a job when your father is the one who's hooking you up with the job, who you might actually work for your father, or it's a close friend who's doing your father a favor by giving you employment. It's harder to fire you when it's a personal favor that has you employed. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case here, but we do hear rumors that the father was spearheading a lot of these jobs that Stephan had. Stephan just did not want to work. Then we can add Disney onto this list, even though it's not listed there. And please ignore all these people down there. They have nothing to do with this case. I'm actually going to move this. I think I was blocking it, but those people who says similar profiles, do not bother those people. They have nothing to do with this case. Let's go ahead and bring it back to me. We know he worked at Disney, and he worked there for approximately a year or a little over a year. And then he ended up quitting because his father allegedly promised him a job out in Newport. And that job fell through, either because Stephan Stearns didn't want to work it or it just fell through, because sometimes these things happen. And then he was unemployed again, somehow able to still afford all the different trinkets and collectibles that he was known to purchase, but he was unemployed. The story shows and tells the story of a guy who is unable to adult. A man, as I've said before, in arrested development, a man-child, a person that something is not all there. A person who 30-something years old, late 30s, but still acting as though he's a child. And as we know, cavorting and abusing a child. Their defense is going to be that Stephan Stearns has some type of traumatic brain injury. Stephan Stearns had some type of mental faculty that was diminished or somehow impeded in him that resulted in him making poor choices. Stephan Stearns has an issue that doesn't allow him to make good choices. That's why he couldn't get up and go to work. That's why he couldn't do adult things. That's why he collected Tamagotchis. That's why he couldn't hold a job. And when did it start, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it started when he was a child, allegedly. And he was run over by that next door neighbor and his head was injured horrendously. And after that day, he ceased to be the little boy that they knew. It's possible. Doesn't absolve him for the things that he did, But the defense attorney is not looking to absolve or have Stephan Stearns somehow absolved where he can now walk the streets as a free man, not guilty, deadlocked. That's not what they're shooting for, because they're not going to get it. They're shooting for a mitigating factor that will spare him the death penalty. Just like they're trying to push out this trial as long as possible so he can stay in county jail in his own private cell where things are less stringent and less dangerous as state prison. Because remember, the first trial he gets convicted on, he goes to state prison and most likely death row. And when they start out that second trial, then they'll bring him back from state prison to the county jail to go to that trial. But they want to keep Stephan Stearns out of state prison because state prison is where you can get hurt. State prison is where you got more restrictions. State prison is harder for you to be contacted and reached by your family. Because God knows where they're going to put him. They might put him 8 hours away from where his parents live. That's what happens in state prison. It's the whole state. And they have facilities all over the state. His defense attorney wants to stretch that child out as long as they can get it. That's why they asked for 2027. But when that trial happens, they need to do everything in their power to spare him the death penalty. In a case like this, not getting the death penalty is a win. Remember that case with the school shooter? What was the name of this kid? The weird one, the Hispanic kid? He shot up the school. Remember at the end of his trial when he was able to well, I'll say he won and he didn't get the death penalty. Remember that? Remember all the commentators were saying that the defense did a stellar job and got a win? Remember, he's guilty. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, yet those defense attorneys are famous for getting him off from the death penalty, from saving him from the death penalty. There are some cases where we're not trying to figure out if the person is innocent or guilty. This is one of those cases. We know he's guilty. The beauty of our Constitution right now is just the formality. Innocent till proven guilty. It's really just a formality because we know he's guilty. The question is, will he be sentenced to death, ladies and gentlemen? And I don't think that defense team is going to spare any avenue to try and get, well, I guess they changed the law in Florida now, right? You don't need a unanimous jury. You need 8 out of 12 or something? Well, if that's the case, they're looking to get 5. 5 people to say, I just don't know. Maybe Stephan Stearns wouldn't be the monster that we see today if he never got ran over that car and he had parents that were able to get him more of the help that he needed so that he would not end up to become the man that he is today. It just takes 5. If I'm correct, that you only need 8 out of 12. Whatever the metric is, whatever the law lays out, requires the jurors to meet, whatever consensus they say that these jurors have to meet, if he could just defeat it by 1, he wins. The mind and the spirit is the most powerful thing we've been given by God or Mother Nature, whatever you believe in. We're inclusive here. We accept everybody for who they are and what they believe. The mind and the spirit is powerful in that we can adapt to almost any environment. Prisoners learn to adapt to life in prison. If you go to half the lifers, if you go to all the lifers rather, in America, people who live in prisons that are housed in non-death penalty states, that means they're just going to do life in prison. They're going to grow old and die in prison. If you ask half of them, well, would you like to take this pill and just be put out of your misery because there's no way on this green earth that you're going to be released? Most of them will say no, because they found their own purpose in prison. They found their own purpose. Sometimes it's mentoring, sometimes it's teaching. All these jobs are available to prisoners regardless of their crimes. Prisons don't care about your crime. They care about your institutional record. That's what they care about. Stephan Stearns can find purpose in prison. His life is not over if he gets a life sentence. His life is over if he gets a death sentence. He could still enjoy his family and what's left of their days, reading and writing and conversing with his parents. Believe it or not, there's going to be people who are going to be willing to be his pen pal and not do it because they want to write a book or something. Legitimately do it because they want to have conversations with him. And he might even find love through those writings, through those pen pals, through those friends, through those people who are willing to talk to him. I've seen it in my career. I've seen people get married and find life partners even though they did heinous crimes. Some people just don't care. And there's something about that person being locked up that makes that person feel more amenable to pursuing that relationship, because at the end of the day, they feel safe. They do feel safe. And some people just want an emotional connection. They don't care about the physical. And of course, a hidden fact or hidden truth or unspoken truth is that that person truly is free to get as physical as they want on the outside and still have a deep emotional connection with somebody that they're building on the inside. And the inside will never know what they're doing on the outside. And to be honest with you, the inside really doesn't care, because they have somebody to talk to, somebody to help them, somebody to support them financially. They don't care, because we all need companionship at the end of the day. So his defense team is going to be trying to save his life. And the best avenue to do that is to say only a mentally ill and deranged person could do what Stephan Stearns did. And guess what? As a defense team, we agree with that statement. Our client is mentally ill. Our client is deranged. Our client is a degenerate. And it started from a traumatic brain injury that our client sustained when he was a child. I guarantee you the defense will be calling a great number of medical and scientific experts and psychological experts to link that traumatic brain injury that his parents have been talking about with his actions as an adult. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. This is my theory. I have no proof of this. I did not speak to the attorney. Plunder did. You want to hear what the attorney had to say? Go to Plunder's channel and watch her great video that she did on speaking to Stephan Stearns' public defender. I didn't speak to their public defender. I have no knowledge of their defense strategy, but you heard it here. They're going to use the traumatic brain injury. And if I'm right, well, I guess I'm just right. It is what it is. We don't got to make a deal. If I'm right, I'm right. Because if I'm wrong, well, then I'm just wrong. At least I tried. Guys, I really appreciate the support from you beautiful people. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. We're 25,000 away. We just made 75,000 subscribers today. The channel is growing at a very healthy clip, and I have nobody to thank but you guys. I am just a talking head. That's one thing I know how to do, is talk. Now, does it make sense when I talk? Well, that's up for you to decide. But I can talk. But everything is because of you guys. You guys chose to tune in. You guys chose to accept me into your world, into your lives, and I do appreciate it. And at no point do I ever take that for granted. So guys, I see you guys on the next one. Please like and subscribe and share. Make sure that you say something in the comment section, even if it's just where you're calling from or where you're watching from, rather. Just please, please, please give me some engagement in the comment section. Hit that thumbs up so that we can get into that algorithm, and make sure that your notifications are set to all so you can get notified for every new video that we drop on this channel, so we can keep growing and keep bringing you information. Guys, I see you on the next one. Strategic is out of here, and peace.